welcome to Layback with Betfair. Joined by the A-team, we're back. It's Layback with Betfair and it is Cox Plate weekend, the greatest 2 minutes in sport. Excited to preview the two cards at the Valley along with Spring Champion Day at Royal Randwick. My name's Nick Foot, your host. The two men that are going to help me do that is Reece Goodwin, the Prince of Pakenham, the Baron of Betfair, Tom Haylock. Boys, welcome. What a week.
Yeah, we were pretty good, all of us.
Shot the lights out, mate.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, we were obviously, Footy and I finished off with a bang with Lem Picker. And what did you have, the Quinella and the Caulfield Cup?
Exacta, thank you.
Exacta. Sorry.
Yeah, we did well. We did very well. And I just want to congratulate you guys. And I've brought in a little present for you. We'll bring Carl up here. He's got a little present to congratulate you.
Oh, have a look at this.
Well done. Well
Outstanding.
done. Here you go. Have one of these.
Is this a burger with the lot?
This is also
it's a muffin.
Combined celebration / lay-in because it is my birthday. And you haven't...
Nice bastard. Woo!
Well, that's right.
That sounded like you Saturday night.
Yeah.
Sorry. you haven't, wish me happy birthday today. So getting the lay-in, early lay-in.
Happy birthday, Tommy.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Happy birthday, mate. 27
I'm going to blow
something?
this out.
Yeah.
27? Something
27,
like that?
correct. Yep.
Once you stop using Facebook, you actually stop knowing when your mate's birthdays
Correct.
are, which
Correct.
is a big
100%.
issue. So,
Correct.
Happy birthday, Tommy.
Thanks,
Hopefully we
guys.
can find the listeners and viewers some winners today on what is one of the best weeks in racing, let's be honest. And before we get into racing though, fellas, we've got to go to the lay-in and get a few things off our chest. Tommy, Mr. Birthday Boy, what have you got for us in the lay-in today?
Well, passwords, they're in the lay-in. Now,
Who needs them?
yeah.
I booked her out of golf the other day. And I had to have it come up with a 48-character password to make an account. It's golf. I don't care if someone hacks into the golf club and changes my tee time.
Yeah.
Who cares? I had to create an account, literally. I tried about 8 different passwords. None of them fit the criteria.
I can't wait until someone does do that to you and then you blow up about that.
I'll turn up at 9 o'clock and be like, no, sorry, your tee time changed.
And then this will be on the show.
I reckon his password that he settled on was without a fight from West Wind Blows 69. That would have been his If that's not your password, I don't know what you've
you need a
landed
few
on.
special characters.
Yeah,
Dollar signs at the end.
Explanation.
Yeah, they are getting more out. They're getting more unique and more out of hand, though. It's a good lay-in, Tom.
I needed a more complex password to book around a golf than a bank.
I love when they want to choose your password for you, and it's literally you're never going to remember. Like obviously you
good
have to
luck
save.
remembering.
Yeah, you have to save it. You're never going to remember it.
And then all you need to do is crack one password to enter the list on Safari or whatever that has all of them saved anyway. So you just need to crack one and you're fine.
I've got a lay-in this week. Went down with a couple of good friends to South Bank last Friday night. Just had a couple of quiet ones, and one of the establishments down there, which is a pretty good place for a beer, were having a sausage sizzle on the side to just their normal kitchen. I thought, geez, the smell lured me in. Being the off season, the smell lured me in, and it was a very much a Bunnings scenario. And I said, "What's the deal here? $8 for a sausage, just a classic snag.
Sausage with a lot.
Did you get onions?
Onions, yeah, but come on,
$8.
That's not adding $8.
It's probably for charity.
And they
footy,
said,
but
we've got a deal, $8 and a bolter, $8 snag and a bolter for $15. So that's not a deal.
That wouldn't have hurt your pocket though.
Wouldn't have. But
Not
that's
after
not
the
a
weekend.
deal. I didn't know what was ahead of me, Reece.
was that before? Yeah, that's right. That was before Caulfield Cup.
True. Should have seen him on
He went
Sunday.
back the next day and
And how much for the whole lot?
Keep the change. What do you got,
Yeah,
mate?
no, I've got a lay-in this week. So Mark Zahra, he's not my lay-in, but Mark Zahra obviously wins the Caulfield
his
Cup
missus?
on the weekend. She was having a whale of a time, wasn't she? Good on her. I wish we were all in the same state she was on Saturday. She looked like she was having a whale of a time. Mark Zahra, a great jockey, don't get me wrong, rode a brilliant race, wins a lot of majors, but then all of a sudden, a day or two later, there's all these stories like he's the most wanted jockey in Victoria or Australia. Like, give it a rinse. Like, anytime someone wins a major, they're just the biggest hype and they want to be ridden, they want to have to ride everything. And there is that many jockeys in Australia, let alone Victoria, that could have done the same job he did. And to read some stories that are like, oh, he's the most popular jockey, you know, he's the right man for the job. I reckon there's 100 of them that are the right man for the job if you get on without a fight.
So you're putting recency bias in the lay-in.
Yeah, 100%.
It's a momentum game.
Yeah,
I don't
sure,
mind
100%.
that,
He's been around for a long time, don't forget, Mark Zahra. He hasn't just bobbed up out of nowhere. He's ridden a lot of Group 1 winners. He's always been good.
though. Well, In the words of Reece Goodwin, we're about to have a wow of a time, and we're going to dissect a couple of cards at the Valley. We're going to just look at one race at the Valley on the Friday night, the Group 2 Moonee Valley Gold Cup. The rail's in the true position for both meets, Tom, isn't it? So
Yes.
in terms of weather, we want the gods to be kind to us because 20 races, or what are we, 18 races on that card could really serve it up before the greatest weight for age race on the Saturday. How are you expecting it to play?
Yeah, obviously it's probably more rain than forecast in the last day or two. It's pretty wet out there as we record this Thursday morning, so a lot of rain Wednesday night as well. I think the track will be perfect. I think that'll put a bit of moisture evenly on the track, and the track will play really well. It was Armageddon this time last year on the Friday night where the races got called off, and the track actually played pretty well the next day. So I expect on speed early, and that's the way I'll be playing it Friday night. Look for leaders early and just monitor from there. They might be getting off the fence Cox Plate Day, late in the day.
It's pretty hard to sit here, isn't it, on a Thursday when we're going to be previewing quaddy legs on the Saturday that are so deep into a card, but it's important to be flexible, and there's a few two bets I think all of us may be having today that offsets that a little bit. Race number 7, as I mentioned, was the Group 2 Moonee Valley Gold Cup. This looks like a race with a little bit of speed on paper. You've got the likes of Knight's Order, who knows one way, Future History, Regal Power, Fancy Man, Mount Popper can push forward as well. How are you seeing this one unfold?
Yeah, as you said, good speed, Future Score, Knight's Order, clear leaders. I've got Fancy Man working across as well. There's not a lot outside of those. Alan Kerr's mixed a bit of speed and form. I'm not too keen to play in this race. I'm scared to tip Cleveland, and I'm scared to tip against him. I've been with him his last couple, and he's been fantastic without winning. He was very good last start, looked the winner, and then the International just kicked and was too strong for Cleveland last start. Blinkers come off now. James McDonald on. Interesting, McDonald rode Athabascan last start and jumps or stays with Cleveland. So I've got Cleveland on top, Van der Clare flying. I think his figures suggest he's clearly in the mix for Van der Clare. He ran an identical figure second up last campaign. He ran fourth in a Group 1 Tancred on the back of that. So third up, he looks set to run well. So he's got to be a chance. I'll probably have something Cleveland.
Cool. Luna Flair, really keen on her. She's got great stats once she gets up to 2,500. She's a winner of this race previously. She absolutely walloped White Marlin last time she was at a trip like this. She's won, as I said, won this race before. She ran second of Francesco Gardi. She won the Bart Cummings, beating Francesco Gardi. She's got a great overall record at this type of trip. They're peaking her for this run. Low draw. The only little issue she might have is a bit of traffic. But at the end of the day, I heard Graham this morning actually say they don't want to get too far back on her. If they look at history with her, she's just drawn wide, and they've had to go back and concede ground, probably over in a lot of races where the trip hasn't suited her. So I'm really keen on her. I'm going to save a little something into our interpretation. He was massive last start. He's very in and out. Two back, he found a really winnable race at Flemington. He was a complete flop. But he was really good last time behind Future History and a really checkered run. Got to the outside. He was great late. He's going to need a good ride from 14. I'm against Cleveland because I must admit, I think you and I, Tommy, were with him after he had his first run in Australia, and I thought he would have won a race by now in Australia. I think it's a great option that they've taken the blinkers off because he was too keen the other day. He didn't look keen, but he got his head down really low, and I think that's what took the sting out of his finish, and that's why the other horse was a better staying prospect in the end. So
he's loomed up his last two starts, and just because he's been keen, he's probably just hasn't finished his race.
I think I mentioned to you in the straight after the race in the call, David Flindale was saying he was getting the head down low and relaxing, but he was actually quite the opposite. I think if you asked James, he was too strong in his hands for a staying trip, and it was a fairly slowly run race. James did the right thing by letting him flow into the race early, but it just taken the sting out of him, sort of pulling that first half. So
just on that, from a jockey trainer's perspective, James McDonald jumps off and recommends taking the blinkers off, you think?
Yeah.
Is that instruction from him?
I'd say James would say that, but I don't think Chris Lees himself, he'd be smart enough to see that himself. In saying that,
and James decides to stay with him.
Yeah, so he obviously liked what he felt. It's just a catch-22 because if it's in a fast run race, he might need blinkers. Obviously, they've put them on him for a reason to start with, but he got in a slow run race the other day in Sydney. And look, you could probably say this isn't going to be a fast run race either. So they've probably put the right rein by taking the blinkers off. So look, I'm wary of him, but I'm against him because he's probably just munched a lot of my money so far. I thought he would have run a race in Australia so far. Yeah, correct. That's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting till you jump off him, then we'll get on.
I'm really wary of the top two in the market. Luna Flair, Vow and Declare, the way that they've finished off their last starts. Like Vow and Declare, he was magnificent in the Might and Power. That race went really fast, some 16.6 lengths faster than Group 1 average to the 600. He was a real eye catcher, step up to 2,500 metres. He's just going to eat it up. And then Luna Flair, she's run the third fastest overall last 600 behind the likes of Gold Trip and Soldrum. So pretty good form. You can see why the market's gravitating towards them. But luck always needs to go their way. They're the get back, run on type. So I'm siding with Future History on top because he makes all his own luck and he's winning the Bart Cummings. I thought was super. Punched out, still strong through the line over 2,500 with First Immortal chasing him down. Yeah, that was an evenly run race.
That form stood up?
Yeah, somewhat, no. Since being here, though, I think Future History's shown that he can sustain a fast gallop as well as what he's done sitting on slow and even speeds. So I give him some hope in a week and a half's time as well if he can run really well
100%.
here. I might have a little futures already on Future History. So I'm expecting a big run on Friday night and I'll be playing Future History.
During the week, were you under bidder on the 10% that sold for 200K in Future History?
Oh, no.
The units, boys?
I did see that. That's we are
got beat in a photo finish?
We are Leviathan owners, but probably just not diving in at the 10%.
Take my hat off to the bloke that owns. There's a bloke that owns all of him, and he's paid, I think, 260K for him this time last year, and now he's just sold 10%.
For the same price.
Yeah, for the same price just about. But I think it's great for racing that this bloke's allowed someone who, don't get me wrong, is probably not a battler, but someone that's paid 200 grand and they're going to a Group 2 tomorrow night and then they're most likely going to the Melbourne Cup. I mean, you can't put a price on having a Group 1 runner, can you?
It's weird that syndicate was called Lempica Proprietary Limited, isn't it? I don't know. That must just be a side note. Hey, let's head to the Valley on the Saturday. We'll start things off in race 3. It's a Group 3 race for the mares over the mile. It was won by My Whisper last year. Roots ran second. Cirileo Miss ran third. You guys, Tommy, how you seen the race unfold from a speed perspective?
Gee, I was keen on Roots last year. You've just reminded me. That was a huge run too. I don't know how she didn't
I think
win
I
that.
was with her as well.
Yeah.
Was it Willow?
Maybe.
Yeah. I think,
Back
and then,
along
and
the
then
inside and
I
then
was off him for the rest of the day and he won on Bella Nipotina.
Yes. Damien Lane, I think, kicks up here, holds position on Whistler Lass. Will she be crossed by Sole Choice? That's a query. And that's I think, where the race is going to be won at the start there. If she's crossed, it's going to be a completely different ball game for Whistler Lass, potentially in the death seat. Now you've got the Sydney horses, Telesifol, Sole Choice, Osmos come through the Yank Stakes at Randwick. Osmos drifted back from a wide barrier, worked home quite nicely, I thought. She was first up at the mile there, can improve, Clark on, good barrier. I think she's probably the pick at the value from that lot. Telesifol had a really good run, poked through late, was pretty strong late. Sole Choice was a little bit plain. Telesifol meets the others worse at the weights, rises 3 kilos. I'm leaning to Osmos from those. I kind of wanted to be against Whistler Lass. She's not one of mine, and Barrier 1's a big query, but she keeps winning, and I don't know, she's up 3 kilos.
Why is Barrier 1 a query for her?
Because if she gets crossed, I think she'll end up in the coffin, and it's early in the day, and that's the concern for me. I think she'd be better leading or just working across from a wide barrier. So she has to kick up and hold. If she's trying to hold Sole Choice out for the lead, then it becomes a bit more high pressure. So, I might spec Osmos each way.
I'm not backing any mares in this race, but one thing I will want to have a bet on is if Whistler Lass, how quick Footy will get a tweet up about it. Because he is in love with this girl. And see him put his back up there when you just said it about the knock on the game. He's like,
what do you mean, Barry?
Yeah, she's too good for
this.
this.
My girlfriend like that.
I love tough mares though. She's in the similar mould to the stablemate Cirileo Miss, who ran third in this race.
You're going to say
year.
Sunline or something.
Well, we won't go that far.
I wish he had him. That would have been better.
Very similar to Sunline.
Well, she won her last start. The Group 3 Ladies Vase, Cirileo Miss won that twice prior. So, and she was tough as nails in that race. So she got headed by Barbie's Fox. Said, not today, love. And
Barbie's Fox, just realised that I'd invested on her at the 100 and packed it in.
Yeah.
I really think Whistler Lass is the one to beat. I'm not going to stop her though. I want Nick to be on her by himself because if I pile in now, she'll probably get beat. But I think she's clearly got the best form, and it was a really dogged win the other day. And Barbie's Fox form coming out of Sydney would have the rest of these mares covered.
Yeah, it's a great line.
Yeah.
You'd think if Barbie's Fox was in
Basically, you're only knock the gate.
It's the gate, and I've wanted to be against her. I think she's had favours the last couple. I know she was really tough last start, and Barbie's Fox was kind of the only horse that made a lot of ground in that race. And I think she's airborne and probably just told late, but she's not one of mine. I don't know.
She's
There's two key speed influences in the race, right? Damien Lane's on Whistler Lass. Sole Choice has shown really great early speed. If she wants to kick up, I don't mind Damien Lane box seating, even pushing up, working in, sitting outside lead. I could see that happening because I don't think a lot of pressure is going to come from behind. But yes, I am with her, and I do understand the slight query heading from set weights back to these handicap conditions. She goes up 3 kilos. That's the only slight query I have, but I think she is a good bet in the third.
If she finds the back of Sold Choice, that's probably not worst case scenario because it's not as if Sold Choice is a 15 to 1 pop. Yeah. She's probably sort of next best pop. So
next best pop.
I like it. Bit more wow from having
a wow of a time.
Race number 4, the listed Crockett Stakes. It's for the 3-year-old fillies, 1,200 metres. Wee Nessie won the race last year, Dream Queen in 2021, and one of my girls, La Mexicana, back in 2020. I liked that horse. I was just a fan.
Okay.
Sorry.
We are having a way of a time.
We are having a way of a time. How are we seeing this unfold in the Crockett? You've got the likes of... I'm just having a look here at the speed map.
Saltaire, Shiva, Picky. You think inhibitions? There's a lot of speed here. Paradise City, Picky roll forward, Floozy not far. Gundrops can kick up as well, footy. So there's a bit of speed, bit of pressure. As I mentioned, Saltaire, Shiva, Picky through that capped on Teeps, which is Stretton Angel form, but it's also Shizzle Shenanigans form, who won that race and hasn't done a lot since. Bizarre, try and work that one out. Saltaire was super in that race, been kept fresh, actually ran a faster final 400 metres than Stretton Angel, who obviously came out and won the Danehill. I'm with a couple of Sydney horses here. I've got Cigar Flick from Mumbai Muse. Cigar Flick, okay on a Danehill against the boys, drops back to her own sex, gets away from that straight track. Wide draw doesn't help, but I think there's enough pressure on the race that she can swoop round them late and really be in the mix. And then Mumbai Muse, the filly. Surprised she's so short here, Mumbai Muse, but filly with 2 minor placings from 5 starts, and she's pretty short in a race. Barrier 3, Zach Purton on board. Nice trial leading in, has to be a strong chance. Not far away in a T-Rose when we last saw her. So Cigar Flick and Mumbai Muse, the horses of interest for me, Reece.
Yeah, I'm going to go searching for some value, as I usually do. Gumdrops, and the main factor I like here is D Lane sticks with. He knows a good horse when he feels one, and he's going to stick with her. She's drawn well in 5. I think they led the other day at Ballarat just to take bad luck out of the equation, and you generally just ride your best horse in those type of maidens just to win. So I think they can sort of just camp right off the speed here, where there looks to be a bit from out wide. So she's closer to 21s. I think she's a safe sort of 1x3 play, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if she measures up to some of these fillies. Mumbai Muse, I've dead set had enough of her. She's done me well. She placed a couple of times when I was playing 1x3s, but she was disappointing the other day. She's been up a little while now. She gets herself a bit worked up pre-race. I don't know how she's going to go with the big atmosphere on Cox Plate Day. That's a real watch. And she can play up in the gates a little bit too. So you're right. She's been basically triple figures all prep, and now you're asked to take about $3 something about her. So I've gone value and sticking with our man Frosty Lane.
Yep. And if we want to confuse the layback listeners even more, I'm going to add 2 more horses in here that I'm going to back.
One of those races.
So then we'll have 5 horses.
Beautiful.
So we can at least...
Surely we find the winner.
Yes, surely. Inhibitions and Shiva are the 2 that I'm going to side with. Inhibitions drops back from 1,400 to 1,200. Ran okay in the 1,000 guineas prelude. She's been running very well this track and trip though, this preparation. So 3 back ran second to Charmstone, 2 back swamped late by Coeur Volante, who's come out and just absolutely smoked him last week. Gets the gun map from 4, Craig Williams on board. This race looks a touch weaker than those previous assignments, so I think she's a really big chance. Shiva as well. She looks over the odds for me was excellent on Guinea's Day, winning at a big price, beating home Excess. And I just feel like Excess is a real smart one. I think that's going to be good form. So I'm excited to see where Excess goes next. Taking into account improvement from last start, I think she's right in this one. Barrier 8, Mickey D in the saddle can be a bit of an issue where she gets to in the run.
Well, ties into Sheasel Shenanigan's form, obviously, Shiva. Inhibitions, Godolphin, not a star horse late prep. Huge concern for me. I like backing him fresh. So regressed last start in the ratings as well. I'm just worried might have had enough inhibitions. That's my concern.
And J-Mac obviously rides Cigar Flick here too.
Yeah, yep.
Fair enough. Let's move on to race number 5. It's the Group 2 Crystal Mile Weight for Age, 1,600 metres. My Oberon won the race last year, Just Folk in 21 and Homesman back in 2020. From a map point of view, really interesting race to see how this unfolds given the small field. Just Folk lobs here again. Tuvalu will no doubt press forward. You've got a couple of interesting Kiwi runners here as well, don't we, Tommy, in terms of Prowess, Mustang Valley, Antino. Terrific horse. I'm interested in your thoughts.
Fascinating race. It's a small field, but gee, it's a good race. I couldn't talk you out of any, really. Maybe Just Folk, but...
Oh. He won it a couple of years ago and he's ran a nice second first up and you're going to knock him somehow.
Oh, it's one of those races. Like, it's a pretty good race.
Yeah.
Tuvalu's flying. He's just a model consistency, Tuvalu. He rarely runs a bad race. You go through his ratings and like 7 of his last 10 ratings are good enough to win this race, basically. He rarely runs a bad race. Banker's Choice was fantastic in behind Antino last start. I don't know how Antino didn't win that, traded very short.
Because the other one beat him first at the post.
Oh, I just went around a bit quicker.
Yeah. That was attrition.
It's because he jumped from the Carnegie swimming pool.
I thought it
wide.
was because Jimmy Orman wasn't on him.
Nah.
I was very keen and interested in Prowess here. Went down a short price last start. First up, 1,400 metres, wet track, New Zealand. She could be a really smart horse. It's one of those races I don't want to play in the race, but I'm really keen to see how Prowess goes. It's one of the most exciting races of the day.
They had her penciled in for the Cox Plate originally at the start of the prep. She's had a couple of little setbacks. I heard Roger talking on radio about it, must have been yesterday morning, and they really like her, of course. That's why she's coming across. But they originally, had penciled in a Cox Plate. They had a couple little niggles that were never going to stop her from coming here. But obviously fitness and whatnot.
What's her target though? Like she's a dual Group 1 winning mare over 2,000 metres. So she's classy enough to win and feature in the finish, sure. But whatever she does, she's going to improve upon. I don't think this is the end goal first up the Group 2 Crystal Mile. I think she's going to a race better than this.
I think they've done really well to find it's probably going to be a low pressure small field for her first run here in Australia, second up. I mean, if for some reason it's not a fast race, it's probably going to come down to who's got the quickest last 600, isn't it? Who finds the best spot.
She's dynamic. That's a really good point. You're talking about who's here to win, but you've got a couple of horses off grand finals, probably coming back here off Group 1 Toorak. You've got Prowess probably on to bigger things. You've got Tuvalu, who's been running around for a while. I don't think anyone's targeted this race.
I'm trusting the camp with Antino. So I think if he was done, I think Tony Gollan would have tipped him out and taken him home. Yep. He could arguably be 3 from 3 here. Yep. So just a dead set moral beaten first up at Flemington, one at Sandown at $1.40 or whatever it was, $1.30, and then just went down to attrition, obviously, in the Toorak, which we spoke about after drawing that gate. So I think finding a small field here, Blake Shin's going to put him in the 1-1. He's going to have every conceivable chance. I'm actually really keen on him. He's actually my best bet of the day at the Valley on Saturday.
Good luck.
Race number 6, the Group 2 Fillies Classic for the 3-year-olds over the mile. The 2022 edition was won by Zoe's Promise from Climbing Star and Do It La. Speed here, Tommy, looks pretty average. We've got the likes of Aprilia, who will push forward, Ollie on board, Nadachi, Peer Pressure, Grinzinger Bell. They look your likely first 4.
I think Grinzinger Bell leads, and then Nadachi and Aprilia up there. Peer Pressure looks to get a lovely run. A couple of dual acceptors here, so I'm not sure where a couple of these are going to run. I think Peer Pressure's in Sydney as well. I'm I have no strong opinion in this race other than I think Skybird is too short.
Just quickly, peer pressure's out of Moonee Valley.
There you go.
Stays in Sydney.
There you go. So it's in Sydney. I'm laying Skybird with little confidence because she's got a scary turn of foot. Won like a good horse last start at Bendigo. A few concerns and negatives for me. She's 1,300 metres to a mile here, second up to third up. So a big step up, and that's stepping up considerably in grade in a higher pressure race. I don't know if that's the best setup for a Moonee Valley 1,600 metre race. She does lack tactical speed and draws wide, so where she gets to as well, potentially off a slowly run. I know I said it's a high pressure race, but it's higher pressure than what it saw last start. But it might not be a fast run race. Moonee Valley as well. So she's a scary horse because she's run 10.52 home, final 200 on debut.
Yeah.
She's got that turn of foot, but I'm just concerned about the map and the setup for her, and I'd rather be with a couple of others. But now that peer pressure's out, concerns me a little bit.
She could, if she wins, she's pretty smart, isn't she?
Yeah.
Like, obviously she's favourite, but at the end of the day, she's, as you just outlined, it's not just a great step up in trip. You know, it's not going to be
with her negatives. It's a
exactly.
It's a big
yeah.
win.
If she does happen to win, no matter what, I feel like she's going to be a pretty smart filly going forward. I'm not having a bet in the race. Broadcast is a really interesting one because it was massive last week in Sydney, 3 deep the trip, still come on the line, but then you've got to turn that around in 7 days' time, come down the freeway, and you're probably going to be possibly back and covered up by a lot of horses. Whole different scenario to last week. So I'm actually staying out of the race. Typical fillies race, pretty tough one.
Just one horse I didn't. Sorry, I'll let you go in a second. Captain Amelia. Improved out of sight last start. That was some run. Blinkers went on in the Flight Stakes, ran 5th there, up to the mile. Blinkers, she looked a completely different horse. But she was 101 there, and now gets J-Mac on, and she's basically favourite. So if you like her, it's hard to cop if you're on at 100s last start. It's a tricky race.
I feel this is a good race to have a 2-bet play from a front of the field, back of the field point of view. So I'm sort of covering my map bases in this race. So Skybird, I think she is smart. She she's come through slowly run races. She got home 9.5 lengths inside the all benchmark for the last 600. That was in 64 grade. She will be getting back here again. The gate offsets her pattern somewhat. So if she doesn't get there in time, I want to be with one that will already be there, and that's number 2, Aprilia. She looks perfectly topped up, I think, for a race of this nature now. So she's gone 1,200 to 1,400 to 1,600, remains 4th up at the mile after running last start in the Edward Manifold. Look, she had every chance in that race, up on speed, was run over late by Zardozi. Remaining at the mile here, I think peak fitness, looks the clear leader. Ollie has an opportunity to dictate, and she's a really good price. She's I think she's opened up some $8. So that's how I'm going to play the race. 2 bets, back of the field, Matt plays for me. Race number 7, the Group 2 Moonee Valley Vase for the 3-year-olds. Set weights, Cox Plate distance, 2,040 metres. Barclay Square won the race last year from Virtuous Circle and Pericles. Speed here looks good. Another interesting dual acceptor in Snowman, who's also in for the Calendar Presnell there as well, which will have some impact on how this race unfolds. Tommy, how are you seeing this one, mate?
Yeah, another very hard to preview this race with Snowman. Port Lockroy's in Sydney as well. They're both in at the time of recording from what I can see. Yep. Yeah, it is a bit tricky. Air Assault, I think, darts across leads from Snowman, Koning, Verdad, has a bit of speed over shorter trips. Port Lockroy handy if here. So you might have Snowman and Port Lockroy come out. What does it do to the speed? Hard race to preview. I like Snowman form. I like the Port Lockroy form. What do you guys make of the Verdad Caulfield Guineas run? Like I'm giving King Colorado a chance in a Cox Plate, and his run was as good. It's hard to see what they were doing on the line with the interference. That's
he certainly didn't run bad though.
It was a good run. It was a really good run.
The interference at the 100 puts a bit of a question mark on terms of how strong he was going to be through the line.
I agree.
But he brings the Griff form through the Stud Stakes as well. So that form is hot to trot.
Yeah. Now, and like it's interesting. He kicked off at 1,300. His first start, which is probably a decent distance to kick one off at anyway. And then he went straight to 1,600 and he's ran second at Griff. So I don't think he has any issues going up in trip from what we've seen. Obviously, you don't know for sure. And
is it the right profile? Because it was a very slowly run Guineas.
And same thing as was that his grand final?
Yeah, correct.
Well, it's most of their grand finals, wasn't it? So now he's going to his 4th run at his first prep, up to 2,000, and you're asked to take less than $3. It's probably not ideal. I'm real keen Port Lockroy. That was a big win in Sydney last start. I only watched that this morning. Regan put him into the race, 600 out, 4 deep. He charged away from them, and he was still strong in the line. I heard David Gately actually this morning say he was real suspect at him over 2,000, but he last up was 1,800, and he took off well before the corner, and he was still good through the line. So it'd be interesting to see where they go, if they stay in Sydney or if they come down here. But he's going to get a good run in behind the speed. He's just going to need the gaps at the right time. Mickey D in the saddle. I think he's a great little each-way bet on a couple of these. As we said, Verdad might be past his grand final. And just on Snowman, I thought he had every hope the other day. He was behind the eventual winner, and Bowman got him away from the fence. He got sort of caused a bit of interference, and then he was just okay on the line. There was a couple that actually ran past him.
Yeah, he's a bit plain.
Yeah,
I didn't.
Raff attack, wasn't it?
Certainly didn't. Yeah, certainly didn't scream out back me next start over further. I thought anyway.
Yeah, I'm giving him some excuse that he probably didn't like coming off heels at that time and being in restricted room. I don't want to make him a loser in the race. Like, I think that form, beating Riff Rocket 2 back at Rose Hill, I'm not jumping off Riff Rocket just yet. Through that gloaming, that was a fastly run race too, the gloaming. So I want to make Snowman a result. But there's one here who's going to eat every part of this, and I think getting out to the Derby trip as well is going to be a runner to watch, who's going about their business very quietly, very well. I've had a little futures for the Derby on this guy, and it's SK. He's just a huge price. He's gone up some $23.
Been mentioned on this show previously.
Yeah, slowly away in the superimpose. You want to fix those barrier manners up. Ran home in the second fastest last 600 metres of the race. He won't be giving anywhere near as much of a start in a race like this with just the 10 engaged. Step up in trip is also a big tick for SK. So I'm just going to spec those two, and it's probably just a little bit of a insight into how I'm playing the day. I've got a lot of bets across the day, but I'm just going to be specking runners here and there. I'm not going to have huge outlays, and I think that's really important for listeners to understand here. I might be betting in a lot of races, but unit outlays are probably on par to what they've been the last couple of weeks, where I've had 6 or 7 bets across 2 cards.
Question for you, for you both. He's drawn 9 SK. He's got the blinkers first time up to this distance. Do they
shows intent in my?
Do they?
I think
with the barrier, do they try and be handier, or do they push him back? Because it's an awkward barrier. I would have loved him to draw 4 and just lob in a perfect position and travel.
It's also interesting that for a horse that's shown pretty poor barrier manners and slowly away, that they've applied the blinkers.
It's again, we've spoken about this. We're doing this show on a Thursday. We've got races there on the Friday night, and then we've got races on the Saturday. So they might not even actually know what they're going to do yet.
Yeah, they probably.
I mean, if it's been concrete and they're all up on speed, well, obviously they've probably got no. If they jump well, they're going to go for it. But if by the time this day,
this is race 15.
Exactly, race 15, they're getting away from the fence. Well, they're probably just going to take their medicine and go back and try and slot in. So I mean, how do you know? But the blinkers certainly show some type of intent.
You just don't want these horses that draw wide to be restrained and overdo it.
Yeah.
We just talked about Cleveland with the blinkers going on and being keen. So I'd hate to see him, if you were backing him, be snagged back to last and race real fierce with the blinkers first time.
They obviously would have had him on at home, and they would know the type of horse he is. He might just be a dead set cool customer that it might not actually make a lot of difference to him, except for maybe at the end where he might have been having a look around. So if you had an insight on the stable and you knew he was like a lovely quiet horse and it probably wasn't going to do too much to him, or if he was quite a fizzy horse, hard going already in his track wear, well then you'd obviously just have to roll forward with him.
Yep.
Hey, let's head to the Group 1 Manikato Stakes, race number 8 on the card. Look, the weather, you mentioned at the top, Tommy, caused an upset last year. The race was moved to the following day, won by Bella Nipotina on the bottomless deck. Look, everything about this race is about the star mare from New Zealand, Imperatriz, isn't it? So $1.45 in the market. Price is going to be king here and probably going to be the key part of our discussion. The likes of Jigsaw, I Am War, I Am Me, Uncommon James, they set up a race that I think she's only going to benefit from. So what are we doing here? Is it a shoulder arms? Is it a back? Is it a lay? Because Tom's been known to lay a lot of these shorties.
She's not a lay, Imperatriz. Pretty clear-cut speed, I thought. I and Jigsaw draw next to each other in 6 and 7. They just cross to the front and lead. I Am War and Common James settle in the next pair. I think Imperatriz gets a perfect tempo, settles behind those 4, and then you've got the 2 back markers in Buenos Noches and the Inferno.
What's her price?
I think $1.50, $1.60 is fair. I think I'll have her one out in the quaddie, and she's clearly the horse to beat, and I don't want to be against her. So whether I have a bet at $1.50, probably not, but just watch her go around.
Yeah, look, no bet race for me too, but she's clearly lengths better than him, really. I think the only one that throws in a little bit of something else is I Am Me, because they haven't seen each other, and he's always showed he's probably a horse up to his capabilities, but they probably didn't think they were going to bump into something like her. So apart from bad luck, she's probably too good for them. I'm really keen to watch on Uncommon James again. I think they got it wrong, and I think the team put their hand up and said they got it wrong by putting the blinkers on last start, and they eyeballed
There's a little bit of an
Ashfura.
argument between you two. Disagreement on the WhatsApp group
Yeah.
about whether the blinkers working or not.
But, you know, I had the trainer's cap on, and the trainers agreed that they did the wrong thing by putting the blinkers on. I don't think no one pictured those two eyeballing each other the whole way.
Yeah.
And I think inside horse always has the advantage if you're first to the inside. Not that they're on the rail, but she was first inside Ashfura. She was comfortable, smooth, travelling. Frosty was trying his best just to get Uncommon James to switch off. So the blinkers come off. He's going to get a lovely run behind the speed. I think, and Imperatriz will probably give him wind burn, but I think if he runs second, he's somewhere back on track. And I think he's a horse that's got a lot of ability, so I hope he's back on track.
How's Jake Doonan got off the Inferno the other night in the Moya, and he said, I thought I had Imperatriz at one point, and the horse is a freak. Yeah, he just said, found again.
He was brilliant first up.
He was fantastic.
Looks like
1200 firm track. He's
got
better his
something.
best. He's had suspect feet, the Inferno. His feet are better, and the Queensland prep's done in the world of good.
Cool.
So he'll race as good as he can. He ran second in the Moya, and last start was his next best race in Australia.
From
That's
3,
what
he could possibly have her back.
Yeah,
I know we
he'll
can't
have
go
her
with
back,
her,
and
but
he can run well.
Yeah.
I just don't think he can beat her.
Yeah.
But
Boys, race number 9.
what are you doing? You haven't.
No, I'm shouldering arms to the
Shouldering
race. Yeah, I'm very similar to you, Tom. One out in the quaddie. I don't think she'll be beaten, but I'm just not a $1.40 punter. It's
I don't
just
think many of us
It's just
are.
not where I. And I know we always talk about value. Oh well, if she's rated $1.30, it's value, but it's just not for me. There's too many things that can go wrong on a racetrack. Race number 9, the Group 1 Cox Plate, Weight for Age, the best 2 minutes in sport, boys. It's this year's edition, it just presents so many angles, doesn't it? Will it be one of our own Weight for Age horses in the likes of Alligator Blood, Brightside, Gold Trip, Fangirl? They meet the international flavours, Romantic Warrior, Victoria Road, or is it the 3-year-old angle that you're siding with the Group 1 winning Colts in Militarise and King Colorado getting around with the likes of 49.5 kilos on their back? I can't wait for this race. It's going to be fantastic. I'm really intrigued to see how you guys are going to dissect it and how you're going to bet.
Yeah, look, I'll start. It's so exciting because we've already had a great Caulfield Cup that had just about everything. We're now about to have a great Cox Plate that's just got just about every flavour. It's got an international that we've already seen here. It's got Old Zaki. It's got Mr. Brightside. Alligator Blood now proven at 2,000. Pinstripes won his way into the race. We've got the 2 3-year-olds, and that's with missing Victoria Road, Fangirl. So cracking race. I'm going to have something each way on 2 here. I'm going to stick with the Romantic Warrior. I think he could probably prove that he is the best horse in the race. He was a clear, after they got him into the yard, first up in the turn, he was clearly too big and a bit fresh. He was closer to the speed, bit keen. When the action sort of happened from the half mile when West Wind Blows got going, James sort of slipped him a bit of rein because he was a bit keen and sort of used him a little bit. And then he was good enough to line. He certainly wasn't, red flashing light on top of his head, back me next start. But I think he was still pretty honest considering how the race unfolded. A lot of them were back and ran on in that. His work there the other morning looked terrific. James is still speaking really well of him.
Can I ask about this though? So is James McDonald ever going to hop off Romantic Warrior after riding him in track work and all these interviews come up and say, oh, not going that good, hasn't improved?
I like it.
No, are they ever going to say it?
I agree.
I'm so cautious. Of course, the horse should take improvement first up.
But a lot of them are saying that it was going to run well first up. They said there's improvement to come, but they were saying he was flying and stuff.
Is this the trainer?
Yeah, and J-Mac was saying how well he was going and working, and I agree with you.
Did he still run well, or do we think he ran no good?
It's a fascinating debate. So my take on him is if Zaki ran that race, he'd be 50s in this.
Yeah.
So it's, what do you do? All the ratings experts are coming out saying, he's the best horse, he rates superior.
Yeah.
But he's rating around the other direction at Hong Kong against the same horses. I don't know what to do with him.
I'm not a Hong Kong fanboy either. I want to see him do it out here.
Yeah, and
before I'm up to bet, and that didn't quite pass the mark for me for a $4.20 chance in our best weight for age race.
I totally agree with you.
I think that goes to show how highly regarded he is, though, for him to, I'm guessing you're just sort of saying he was a bit of a flop first up and should have ran better.
It was a good run, but I wouldn't say it was a flop.
Okay,
But
so it was a good run.
It was a
so
dollar.
James
It was a
Max,
good. It was a good run. But it wasn't a $4 Cox Plate.
J-Mac and the team weren't far off when they said he was going well, because he did run well.
He ran well, but he's now a $4 favourite in
Yeah.
our greatest race.
Yeah.
So
He'll definitely drift.
No, because
So he's a deserved $4 horse in the
he
Cox.
he might firm, but I don't have to agree with that.
No, that's right. That's right.
Well, what we're almost debating is improvement versus ones that are already there, and that's where my bet comes into play. And I'm siding with Alligator Blood because the question marks were out over him whether he can run a 2,000 metre, and he didn't just do it; he knocked it for 6. And I know he was chasing Deny Knowledge, but that Might and Power race went 16.6 lengths faster than the Group 1 average to the 600. So you can't.
Hard to fathom how big that is.
You cannot.
She slept well, Deny Knowledge.
You can't debate the clock.
Yeah.
That's fact.
Yeah.
And he's done that, and he bounced through the race, and he kicked off that, and he sent horses like Just Fine to the paddock.
Yeah.
So he ran out a really strong 2,000 metres, and he gets his chance to do it again here. Does he regress off that? Was it too big of a run? Is it a gut buster? They're the things you're going to find out. But he's got the body of work there. He's done it, and I'm happy to back him off it.
I couldn't really talk anyone out of backing anything in this race. Now,
Yeah, we're not going to fall over if much wins it.
we haven't really talked about the map.
My over on maybe.
Maybe.
My query.
But you can't. He's actually going well. It's not as if he's out of form. He's just not. You don't picture him as a Cox Plate winner.
He crossed the line with Mr. Brightside last start.
Yeah. You just don't see him as winning the race, though.
Who was fantastic this day last year as
winning
well.
last year, yeah.
Now, we haven't talked about the map. This is my biggest concern for Alligator Blood. A lot of people throughout the week before the barrier draw were saying it looks a slowly run race, which now Zaki's drawn outside. I can't see it.
But Gay
Going
never
slowly
wants him going slow, so why would it all of a sudden be a slowly run race?
Yeah, I don't think it will. So
But
Zaki,
they've just gone 16 lengths above Group 1 level, so
And he's
why
won.
would you walk in
Yeah.
it? Where is he? Like, sorry to interrupt, but he walked in what was the race Mr. Brightside beat him in pretty comfortably.
no,
At
yeah.
Flemington.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
They walked in that and Mr. Brightside had him covered. So there's no point trying to do the same thing when Mr. Brightside's probably going to have your back. So they may as well make it a good tempo.
Yeah, that was the Mackay Dover.
Sorry, yeah, Mackay Dover.
My concern with the map is Zaki. He hunts the fence. He races his
Yeah,
best when he
true,
finds a fence.
true.
I think he has to push the button. His best chance of winning or running well is leading. He can't be I don't think he can be outside Alligator Blood. So I think he crosses to the lead and it will be high pressure. And I don't know whether that's Alligator Blood's A+ position. Romantic Warrior gets a good map in my opinion. Mr. Brightside behind the lead. Imperatriz is a fascinating horse from the barrier draw perspective. I think that suits him perfectly.
So what did you make of that? Is there an intent there to be more positive with Militarised
100%.
picking 3?
And I've spoken to the connections of King Colorado as well, and they were keen to settle
Going
in
to
the
name
first.
drop? Or?
This is good insight.
They were keen to settle first 4 or 5 as well.
That's what I thought
And
they would.
I wanted him to, and I was going to give him a big chance, and then he draws 10. He can't be posted 3 deep and run a good race. If he finds a position, I think he can run well.
Yep.
Yeah, and then I think Militarised will be handy. I think it'll be midfield, and he's the big winner for mine.
From what I'm gathering, this is going to be a mad charge into the first corner, because if Zaki does want to find the fence, and you've got King Colorado 2 inside him that wants to roll forward with 49.5, sorry.
Yep.
After sitting 3 deep, they're not going to want to see him 3 deep again. So they're just Mickey D's probably just going to be handlebars down. And then, so there's already a bit of pressure with Alligator Blood, and then you've got Mr. Brightside kicking up inside them too. So this all of a sudden could be a pretty high pressure charge into the first corner.
I think it's going to be a fascinating race.
Yeah.
We haven't even spoken about Fangirl either.
We haven't talked about my tip yet.
Yeah, well, I just want to mention Fangirl as well, who was enormous from a ratings perspective in the King Charles. It's just the jury's out on her over the distance again, isn't it? So you would have liked to have seen her do that, like Alligator Blood. That was my knock with her. So there's so many angles, mate.
So I was last week. I came into the Caulfield Cup and I had clarity in my thinking. Earlier in the week, I had no idea who I was going to be within the Cox Plate, which is rare. Usually, you go into these big races and have an opinion. I went looking for Fangirl. She wouldn't have liked the rain we've seen in the last couple of days. I know it's a long way out from the race day, and the track will probably be good, but it needs bone dry. And I wanted her to draw a bit softer as well. I'm forming more clarity as the week's gone on. I'm with Gold Trip. I think he's the best horse in the race. He's absolute star. Blinkers off in the Melbourne Cup when he won, and then having him on for the first time in the Cox Plate last year. Blinkers on again. I think he's a serious racehorse. I think the tempo, the high pressure nature of this race is fantastic. He should have been in the finish last year, in my opinion. Duck back the inside, was very unlucky. Also heard at Breakfast with the Stars, Spencer got off and said after the Cox Plate ride, gee, it's a tight turning track.
Hadn't noticed that. I thought we were at Flemington.
Zara is the best jockey in the world now.
He's in high demand, you ask everyone.
He's in high demand. I'm happy to be with him. I'm getting more and more confident. The rain's helped and the track should be perfect for him. High pressure race. I think he's the best horse in the race and I think he can run a great race each way.
The stable said something that would add confidence and substance to your point too, is that he's an entire and he's got this constitution where he just loves racing. Like he wants to race.
Yep.
So again, I'm not going to sit here. It's an impossible race to have a lay bet in.
Yeah.
I reckon. So good luck to you.
I'm actually going to be quite strongly against Gold Trip for one reason.
All right.
Sorry.
I
am because last year's setup, he came out of a slowly run Caulfield Cup into the Cox Plate, whereas he now comes out of a really fast run Caulfield Cup. And obviously, most of these aren't coming out of the Caulfield Cup 7 days ago. A lot of these have been pointed towards it. So I'm actually going to go strongly against him. I agree, probably the best horse in the race.
What's your concern with that? He won't be sharp enough?
Yeah, well, I just think it's
taken. Does the blinkers counteract that?
It can, yeah, but that doesn't just mean he's going to be fresh all of a sudden
No.
with a pair of blinkers on. That's more just to switch him on in the run. But if he's maybe feeling the pinch from a fastly run race 7 days ago, that's all I'm banking on.
Yep.
I could be completely wrong, and as Footy said, he might have a great constitution. But I think the setup from last year out of a slow run Caulfield Cup was better than him coming out of a fast run one
I
this
think
year.
last year's probably a stronger race too.
Yep, probably.
Yeah, I'm happy to be with him.
Sorry, Footy wants to get on to the next race.
Yep, let's head to race number 10. We're still here. We haven't even got halfway. Well, we have, because we've only got a couple to preview in Sydney. But we will look
Glad
at
you corrected yourself.
Race number 10. I often just have conversations with myself because I have to on this panel.
You can do the show alone next week.
I reckon I could.
He'd have us covered.
I did for about 6 weeks while you guys were in Europe. The Group 3 Red Anchor Stakes for the 3-year-olds over 1,200 metres. Sajardin won the race last year for Gary Portelli and Jamie Carr. They combined. The speed's on in this race, boys. Let's have a look at the speed map here as I bring it up. We've got the likes of Critique, Snippety Legend from out wide, Le Perrine, Schwartz, Reveline for the Bussetton and Young camp.
Gee, there's some names in this race, isn't there?
There are. I've absolutely shouldered arms to this. The speed looks on. Reese's boy Barber, he's dual nommed, but he's in for this at the moment.
Barber's barred.
Yeah, I'm waiting for you to mount a case for him. Tommy, thoughts on the race?
One of my better bets in the program, actually, here. A lot of speed. I'm hoping the Perrine runs here and just adds a bit more pressure in Sydney as well. It's a really good race, actually. A lot of angles. Now, I'm very confident Archo Nacho each way. He made Mahaba look second rate last start, 2 starts ago down at Flemington, beat him by close to 8 lengths, Mahaba. Also ties in positively through Barber, who scratched in Sydney through the King's Gambit form, beat that horse comfortably as well. I heard that he had not got loose, but they were concerned about him going into the last run on a piece of work they did during the week, and he was a bit flat, and he raced a bit flat. I think he's clearly the best horse in this race, and I think the setup here is perfect for him. Drawn inside, high pressure race. They'll be off fence. He can just sneak up, get runs, even if he has to duck back to the fence because they will sweep off it. I think he'll be charging late, and I think he'll be winning one of its best of the day. Race 10, number 3, Archo Nacho.
He hasn't seen a bend since his Werribee Maiden.
No, that's right.
He canters around 1 most mornings.
He's not a big horse. I think Moonee Valley will suit him.
Yeah, look, this is one I'm really keen on each way price, and this horse is flying well under the radar, mainly because of probably the team, but they're in form. Rote Tarataki, Matty Williams, Dean Yendall here, loose on gin. Now, ran second on day.
I thought you were going to say Barber then. I was going to sack you.
Well, there is a positive to Barber. Damien Lane's on it, but that's about it. Loose on gin, drawn 4, going to get a good run. He ran second on debut at Ballarat. Now, the horse that ran third, and that's called Hedged, who's measured up to some pretty nice races. Then he was second, don't get me wrong, over the Bull Carnival on a heavy 10, but ran second, beating a nose to Sensify, who ties in with obviously the Caulfield Guineas and the Caulfield Guineas Prelude. And then he's had a break, he's come back. You have to watch the win at Hamilton. It was one of the more arrogant maiden wins you'll ever see. Jared Fry basically throttled it down 100 metres out, and it still won by about 4 lengths. So he's a horse that will take a jump to this grade, no issues at all. And
Maps well.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the only reason you're getting double figures here is because, well, one, it's an open race, but because it's Matt Williams and Dean Dindal, who's no knock at all, but it's not Kira Ma and Mark Zara or Blake Shin and, someone else.
There is an element of that tax every single week in the city, so it's a really good point.
Just a couple of things on the 2 Sydney horses, La Paraine and Schwartz. Both ran at Gosford, one over 1,000, one over 1,200 metres. Now, there are 5 sprint races, 1,200 or below. The leader won 4 of them, and the other leader ran second with the horse that popped off its back. So it was real leaders track over the sprint distances. So just take that into account if you're backing La Paraine and Schwartz there.
Basically saying don't.
Well, be careful, yeah. They both won really well, so...
I love it. Hey, that rounds out the 2 Valley cards. Excellent work, fellas. Hopefully we've found some winners in there. It is now time, though, for what caught my eye. And Tommy, we've got a couple this week. We're gonna start with Tom's eye, and then we're gonna move to my eye.
How smooth was that?
I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. What do you mean? We're having a wowie of
I'm fatigued.
This footage may or may not have come from Geelong Cup after the last, but I want to show it. I don't know what's going on here.
But it caught my eye.
I'm running with it. Something caught my eye here. Let's roll the tape. Yes, well, no comment.
It's an absolute hip and shoulder. She's been Byron Picketed them into oblivion.
Well, I don't know if that came from the Geelong Cup. Maybe.
I like it.
Yeah, there was no Von Zipper shades or snakeskin square toes, so the jury's out there. Tommy, something that caught my eye.
Can't believe you're running this.
Was breakfast with the best. Now, obviously, only the best are at the breakfast with the best. So I was at home scrolling through my Twitter feed. Reece had a breakfast with the best. I think he gave Super Solar and Blesk a track gallop and had an $8 sausage out of Pakenham.
Not bad from you.
But this is what Tommy had to say when questioned about any gallopers he liked on course.
I'll be lying, Miles, if I could say that I could judge a horse by the way they go around a track. I've got no idea. They all look like they're going well. They just look like horses to me.
Now, this is the number 1 form analyst at Betfair, Layback with Betfair. And you know what, Tommy? I'm respecting this 100%.
So much honesty.
I don't know where you go with this.
No, it's refreshing because everyone rolls out on course. Now, Reece should know what a horse looks like galloping up.
No.
But there's a lot of of gurus out there that go, oh, geez, alligator blood worked well this morning. Of course he did. He's rock hard fit. He's a 7-time Group 1 winner. So of course he did. So, Tommy, thank you for being refreshing in the media.
Just being honest.
Because there's a lot of people that have a little bit of, just trying to speak out of term or trying to speak above what they actually know. It was very refreshing to see that.
Didn't quite come out as well as I'd hoped.
I reckon you nailed it. Mate. You sounded very good.
I probably shouldn't have said I got no idea.
Yeah.
What I should have said is if you think you can go to the track work and not see these horses every day and turn up on one morning and get something out of the morning and be confident of a horse on the back of that piece of work, you're kidding yourself.
So I've got to ask, why did you go?
Networking. It's bacon and eggs.
Bacon and eggs. He could smell them from Richmond.
He loves a bit of ham and cheese croissant too.
It's a request next year for the croissant.
Speaking of having no idea if a horse looks good or not, let's head to Royal Randwick up there for Group 1 Spring Champion Stakes Day. In terms of track conditions, weather, rail position, how's it all looking, Tom?
I'll be surprised if they're a bit more off fence. There's a bit of rain around, which probably evens the track up. Rail true, running line can be okay. And there's some showers, so track should play pretty well. Might be hard to lead, but just monitor.
Let's head to race number 6 now, which is the Group 3 Craven Plate. It's weight for age, 1,800 metres. Cascadian won the race last year. Think It Over went back-to-back in 2020 and 2021. How are you seeing the speed here, mate?
Numera and Sabak hinged, not a lot of speed. Numera probably rolls forward and leads. Won't be a high pressure race by any means. I've settled on a horse third up, ready to peak here, Chris Waller, and that is no compromise. Likes to sting out. I thought he was pretty strong late in a very moderately run race, and I think he's ready to peak here. Inside barrier, he gets the suck run, and I'm happy to be with him here in a bit of a yucky race. Not many of these can be trusted.
I was just about to say, when Nick messaged through yesterday and said, boys, if there's any races that you don't like, just let me know. Gee, I wish I'd said about this one. Far
like it?
out. No.
It's one of those. Yeah.
Well, I found a bet.
Have you?
That doesn't
Yeah.
surprise me.
No compromise?
Both of you have.
No, I'm with Huetor.
Oh, yeah.
So
Where does he get to?
yeah,
Sydney.
let's talk about this. So not exactly. This isn't one for the SP Hall of Fame because he went around at $151 last start. And that was first up, but that was a genuine Group 1 weight for age race. It was the King Charles 1,600 metres. Got well back, raced in restricted room over the final 300, but just got through the line nicely. It was a sneaky good run, and he was just there for a look around. Drops back to Group 3 level here, remains at weight for age. So profiles as a horse that just takes enormous improvement second up. All peak figures come second up. Good price, I think, Tommy, $7. In regards to where's he get to in the run? Well, he's going to be back.
Yeah.
He's going to be back.
Just needs the right drag into it, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, he's got the likes of Stockman, Fireburn drawn underneath him, so I think he can be off the fence working into it. And he's one of those ones, but it's factored into the price. You're getting $7 about someone that's just gone around in a ridiculously good race first up and performs best second up. So
He's got the win over Numerian too, so this probably should be it's nearly the other way around, those two.
Yeah, you could beat Numerian. You got Zaki form. I mean, that Hollandale run
Was that
over
when
1,800 metres.
Was that when the jury was sort of out on how Zaki was going because he literally just beat Huator or whatever, however you pronounce it,
that was
by
good.
ahead?
That was a good run by Huerta. It was over this trip and got within 0.4. So
Yep.
yeah, his best is good enough.
Yep. You're right though. It's you take on trust, and you got to factor that into your price. You wouldn't be diving in Danny at $3. Let's head now to the feature on the card. Race number 7. It's the Group 1 Spring Champion Stakes for the 3-year-olds under set weights, 2,000 metres. Sharp and Smart won the race last year from Elliptical, and she's extreme. Tom Kitten. That's all that keeps popping up here in this race. Very short in the market. Just such a frustrating preparation for this horse. If you want to dive in at 220, go nuts. I'm staying out. I'm not prepared to lay him either because I think he's the best horse in the race, and if he gets the breaks, then he wins. But he's been a frustrating prep if you've backed him. I haven't, so I'm not going to chase it.
Yeah, I've been a bit against him too, and been fortunate he's been back and wide and had no luck. And I probably still haven't found the winner of those races, but I've been against him. Are you with him or against him?
Oh, look, he's probably 6 lengths better than him, really. I mean, he's been spotting them 7 or 8 lengths and been getting a better length.
He could be 4 or 5 lengths better than the horses he's been running
One
against.
thing I'll kick up for is Nasha Willer, and he had absolutely nothing to do with how it got beat last start. If you watch the helicopter shot, he jumped well, and there was about 6 of them in a line, all going for the front, and Nash was in behind them. It was only that they all finally took hold, and he got shuffled back into a spot. Like, he wasn't too far away within the first 100 metres, but he was just going to get cleaned up if he didn't sort of concede a bit of ground. And then he tried to get on his bike, and there was a bit of pushing and shoving going on. He got into the outside, he flew home late, and he got beat by the thing that led. So
Yeah, the rough attack.
yeah, exactly. And obviously it proved that it wasn't a run-on race other than Tom Kitten. So
Enormous run.
I think that can get in the bin,
Barrier
people
one.
that are giving Nash a hard time. Yeah, barrier one's obviously you think it's tricky. But I
It's a
mean, if
negative.
I never think that Nash Willig jumping off is a negative, a positive, but maybe just a different jockey might be the positive.
I agree. I think Nash.
What's Adam got to lose by trying to ride him a different
I
way?
think Nash off's the negative because I think he's top 2 or 3, but
Yeah.
Hieronymus is riding really well. Barrier one's the key negative for me. We'll need a lot of luck.
Is it a strange jockey booking for Godolphin?
It is a little bit. You don't see him riding for Godolphin very often.
No.
A lot of the good jockeys are probably in Melbourne.
Of course.
2 interesting runners. A filly here. We saw Montefilia win this race a few years ago, and Madatsu, interesting import, 1 over 2,000. I probably wanted to see him win a little bit better, or stepping up in trip to be considered a major player. If I'm having a bet in this race, I'm backing Turtle Levita. She looked like a 2,000 metre horse last start in the Flight Stakes. I thought the winner there ran her pretty well the other day. Just got run down late over 2,000. I think that's the right form, different form. I could happily be against all the boys here and take a bet on Turtle Levita.
Very nice. Well, I'll be staying out of the race and Good luck if you are betting in the Group 1 in the feature up there in Sydney. Race number 8 is the $2 million The Invitation. It's for the fillies and mares. It's only in its third instalment this year. Ice Bath won the inaugural running and Promise of Success got the nod from Electric Girl and Nimmerley last year. This is a few good mares running around in this race. You got the likes of Magic Time and Parasol who come through the same race. Espiona obviously dropping back from an Everest and up in trip to 1,400 metres. I've got that as a huge tick. And then you got the likes of Opal Ridge who kind of defied the gear change with the concussion plates on last time in the Kosciuszko and was an early doors firm favourite for that run, lobbing here second up. So I think at the top of the market, it looks a really competitive race. I'm interested to see if you guys are willing to have a bet.
Yeah, I'm pretty keen on an each way basis. Opal Ridge, she was massive first up, obviously front page, did his own thing in front. He was dominant, found the fence. Fence looked pretty hot that day early. She chased very hard and she was great. A little bit of sting out of the ground will be good for her. I don't think she wants it, too wet, which it probably won't get to, but I think the soft 5, sort of 6 range is perfect for her. She's going to get a good run from 3. When I was going through the field and she was closer to double figures, I was quite shocked by that because she is just a model of consistency. She's shown she's up to these type of mares, despite the weight, and I think she's a great each way bet for sure. Obviously, Magic Time, she's the sort of height filly. I think Graham said this morning she's going here and then they're looking at a Rupert Clark. So, she'd want to be going pretty close in a race like this to warrant going to a Rupert Clark. So, tough mares race, but I was just taken by the price of Opal Ridge. And I think you can't go too far wrong with her. She's generally not far away at all.
Opal Ridge ties in through that Tats Tiara with Roots. Roots beat her home there, but meets her slightly worse at the weights. I think, actually meets her better at the weights. So, Magic Time might be my favourite horse. And if she loses here, she'll be more of my favourite horse because I'm against her. I love her as a horse, but she just maps awkwardly here. Big step up, from my opinion, from Parasol form. She's meeting Espiona, who's coming out of an Everest, and a couple of other really nice horses. Ruthless Dane's a Group 1 winner, obviously ties in. But that was a day last start that you had to be on the fence. It was a fencing run. Everything ran well. It was on fencing run. We saw Cool Dye come out of that race who was off fence and probably goes close to winning down in Melbourne last week. So I'm against her just from the map. I think she'll have to work. There's enough speed. Parasol, Royal Merchant, Banana Queen, Osbred Flirt have a bit of speed. She just might have to do a little bit more work. And I'm having a Tommy 2 play on a pretty bullish here. I think Espiona's the horse to beat. Rightly favourite. I loved her running the Everest. I think her 1,400 metre win 2-back was dynamic and it's good enough to win this. I thought she was really good in that Everest. She just got chopped out and kept fighting. It was a really good one. Really
her to run well.
Really good run. And Roots the other one for me. I love this horse's run last start. Now, I love the barrier, 3 weeks between runs. She's a bomb fresh horse. She's been kept fresh with that. Stays at the 1,400 metres. I dare say Waller hasn't done too much with Roots. She's a Group 1 winner, a Group 2 winner. She's Group 1 placed, I think.
You training now, are you?
Hey?
You training now? Chris wouldn't have done too much with it.
She ran second. She ran second to place a pan up in
the Group 1.
Yep.
But she ran the Group 2 anticipation before that. I think this is a perfect setup for her. 3 weeks, second up, fresh, good barrier. She's a horse that needs that suck run, and if she gets the splits late, she'll be
nice
right in the mix.
too.
So Tommy 2 play, Espiona on top from 6 Roots.
Yeah, I'm with you. I agree fully with Magic Time, Parasol. I don't like that form line out to 1,400. The horse, the mare that's going to really benefit from this 1,400 is Espiona. I think she's a great play here in this race. So you look at, being outclassed, obviously, in a race like the Everest, but she's got figures over 1,400 that I just think wallop these. So the race sets up well for her, back to her own sex, very hard to beat. So Espiona,
I just want
a good bet.
Touch. We talked about the gold pennant that she won, and no one really gave her much of a mention because she's Espiona. She's a sort of get back run on horse. The only thing we said was a positive was Nashville Willer goes on. Sure enough, he gets her over the line. Now all you boys are piling in onto her, and Nash is off, and Karen McAvoy's on. Is that any negative at all?
Are you saying Karen's a negative? Is this you bagging a drop?
Compared to Nashville Willer, I think so. I think Nash was the only one that could get her over the line when no one was really too keen on her because she was a bit of a non-winner.
That's a very, very good point.
And
she's a horse that does a lot wrong, but I think the setup now, she's learning to do more, and I think that win would have done her the world of good and the Everest run.
Yep.
I think she she's a horse that did so much wrong.
Yeah.
I just think now,
Might be starting to work it
I
out.
think she's starting to work it out
Yeah.
and back to 1,400 metres and deeper into her campaign. She doesn't race as fresh. And
Yep.
I think it's a nice setup. I agree. McAvoy's a negative from Bowman, who rode her pretty well in an Everest.
And Nash, the only one that could get her over the line in about
And
12
it's
months.
placement. Like, look who's around her.
Yeah,
So magic time, 11, drawn 11, not convinced can run a strong 1,400. You got Parasol, who's been up for a bit, but off a freshen, not convinced going to get that 1,400 versus Espiona. So
The other thing from my point of view is she was thrown in the Everest last thing. Probably not a grand final. I don't know what a grand final was. So is this a grand final? Was the Everest a grand final? Like, is it the A1 setup to run in an Everest and then out of within what, she have a week's notice? She was going into the Everest.
No, she had a couple of weeks. I think they earmarked her as soon as she won that race.
Sorry, I thought
and
she was the
kept her
last one
fresh.
that got in.
Nah, she wasn't.
let's move on to the last race that we're going to preview, which is race at number 10. It is the Calendar Presnell.
Isn't it?
Is it 9?
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
9,
yeah.
sorry. That'd be a benchmark 84 in the last leg of the quaddy
Back
up
to the
there.
leader there. Yep.
The Group 2 Calendar Presnell over the mile. Interesting map here. Tommy, we've got the likes of Snowman, who we mentioned in the Valley preview, who is dual nommed. We've got pace from the Little Pumper. That's your nickname. Flying Trapeze. Sandy, Peer Pressure chooses this over Melbourne. So there's a bit of speed here. The market is gravitating to Arctic Glamour, who draws one, and I'm pretty keen on. I think is a pretty smart horse.
Yeah, going places. Stable third up now, deeper campaigns is a query with Barrier 1. That's my little concern, but it replicates what she's done the last couple. She's going to be mighty hard to beat here, and I don't want to be against her, and I won't be. Whether I dive in is the query, but she's the horse to beat.
I want to back her. I want to see what the market does. Like if Snowman comes out, she's going to be very short.
Yep.
Peer pressure here helps off a good win. That gives her a better price. Not in.
Yeah, she's the favourite for the 1,000 guineas at the moment too. So you'd want to see her running well in this race, which I think she will, and I'm happy to side with her in this.
Nothing from me, boys.
Nothing from you. Rounds out our preview of the 2/3 cards due to Friday night as well. Before we do a bit of a wrap though, we've obviously got our Take On Me segment, and we've got Jacko, who's just on fire at the moment. He's low flying, and this is what Jacko's got this week for Take On Me.
Take On Me this week. We're going to the Valley. Obviously, it's Cox Plate weekend, and I want to lay on Saturday, race 5, number 6, Prowess in the Crystal Mile. She was poor first up in New Zealand in Harawa. It's a town of 10,400. 2 horses have ever raced there at their previous start and come over here to Australia and contested a group race. Ladies first, finished 8th of 15, starting $43 in the 2018 Moonee Valley Gold Cup. And Nicoletta started $101 and finished 6th of 12 in the Hot Danish in Rosehill in 2019. So not a prominent racing town. She was expected to go there and win first up. Prowess, she didn't. She started $1.80, loomed and peaked. So you could say fitness just ran out, but the winner started $30, and 3rd and 4th got beaten at their next start by one who won a benchmark 75 at its start prior. I don't think she's going much good. Tuvalu and Antino both have the fitness edge on her. If it's hard leaders, Tuvalu is the one. If you can sort of make a little bit of ground 3 and 4 wide, I think Antino's the one. Yeah, Prowess just looks the hole in the market to me. If she gets back to her Vinery stud figure in her only start in Australia, she can win this, but I'm just not sure she's going well. So $4.20 is the best price around, and I'll put up $500 at $4.80 on Betfair. That's race 5, number 6, Prowess.
Thanks for that, Jacko, taking the set against Prowess. He must know her future plans, because we certainly didn't in the preview, but obviously going to get better as gets out in trip. Boys, what we'll do is we've got all our unit plays that we'll throw up on the Betfair socials, but just quickly we might whip around, get a couple of best bets from Melbourne and Sydney across the weekend. Reece?
I think, look, I'm going to say my best bet is going to be in the last on the Saturday at Moonee Valley, loose on gin. And that's a best bet at about sort of 15, 16 to 1. But I really think she can run top 3. I think she's a really safe bet. And I reckon I'm going to make my best lay Gold Trip in the Cox Plate. I'm going to go head-to-head with Tommy.
I don't mind it.
I just think the 7-day turnaround off a very fast run Caulfield Cup, and they're still banking on, yes, there's rain around now, but there's a whole meeting to go ahead on Friday and then Saturday. So it's a long time now till Saturday. And yeah, happy to take Tom on.
I think the Strathair helps him. It's off the track.
The Strathair's about 25 years old there. It's not even Strathair anymore. No, it is. It's meant to have been...
It's a softer, more cushion than a
I disagree. No, it can be dead set concrete there. They were broken track records there 2 years ago. And now the Strathair's come back again.
I'm no turf expert.
You were down there on Tuesday. If you weren't looking at the horses, you sort of felt how hard the track was.
Yeah, the egg in the egg and bacon roll was a soft 5, though. It was a googie egg. That was good.
That's what you want.
What have you got?
I prefer a soft 7. My best, I'm very bullish in the invitation on Espiona and Roots. Tommy 2 play there. I think one of those two will be winning. Archo Nacho, my best at Moonee Valley on Saturday, race 10, number 3. And I'm with Gold Trip. I'm happy to be with him.
Yep. Race 5, number 4 on Saturday at the Valley. Antino is my best bet. I think he just gets it done in that small field. He's absolutely flying without reward. And then in Sydney, I'll just be equal best plays in terms of Espiona and Arctic Glamour in races 8 and 9 consecutively there. Tommy, happy birthday, mate.
Thank you.
Happy birthday. Enjoy the Cox Plate weekend for your birthday.
We'll see you there.
I'm sure we'll catch you there on course, of course. I'll be
You're not coming to St Arnaud?
rolling around.
I'm there.
No. I think you and Rick McIntosh will be the only 2 people on course at St
I hope he's not there.
Reece, all the best going out to
Thanks,
St Arnaud. It's a big meet out there for Cox Plate Day, as we know. And listeners, viewers, all the best across the weekend. Hopefully we find some winners, and we'll be back next week for Derby Day on Layback with Betfair. Welcome to Layback with Betfair. Joined by the A-team, we're back.
Chances are you're about to lose. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.